Imagine a Florida sunrise, the sky painted in oranges and pinks as the sun rises over the Atlantic Ocean. You can almost feel the warmth of the first rays of sunshine kissing the sand as palm trees sway gently in the breeze. Welcome to Florida, the state where sun-drenched beaches, endless toll roads and gator-filled swamps make for one of the most unique places in the United States. But here's the real question. Is Florida really like the rest of the country, or is it something completely different? Let's take a fun journey through 15 reasons why Florida is unlike any other state. Plus, stick around for a bonus that might surprise you. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss out on the next adventure. All right, buckle up, because in Florida, hitting the open road means hitting the toll booth. A lot. Seriously, these things are like rest stops in other states. In most states, you can hop on the interstate and drive from one end to the other without even thinking about tolls. But in Florida, it's pay to play. Take Orlando, for example. You try getting from one side of that city to the other without feeling like you're playing a game of toll booth bingo. And don't even get me started on the Sun Pass. It's supposed to make your life easier, but good luck remembering to refill that thing before you get slapped with a penalty. Now, you'd think the capital of a state like Florida would be some bustling metropolis, right? Like a mini Miami, maybe? Well, think again. Tallahassee is about as far from South Beach as you can get. We're talking less than 200,000 people here. Meanwhile, you've got Miami, Tampa, Orlando bursting at the seams. Well, in Florida, everything's bigger except the capital. But hey, maybe that's part of Tallahassee's charm, right? It's like a little slice of southern tranquility amidst the Florida craziness. Look, we all know Florida's got a reputation for being a little wild. And I'm not just talking about the nightlife in Miami Beach. First off, you've got more gators than you can shake a stick at. Over 1.3 million of them just lurking in the swamps, lakes, maybe even your backyard pool. Then you've got the Burmese pythons. These things are like straight out of a horror movie, slithering around the Everglades, eating everything in sight. And those are just the headliners. We haven't even gotten to the iguanas falling from trees, the sharks swimming just off the coast, or the giant cockroaches that could carry off small children. So, you know how in most states a hurricane warning sends people running for the hills? Well, in Florida, it's just another Tuesday. Seriously, these folks are more prepared for a Category 5 than most people are for a trip to the grocery store. With miles of coastline on both the Gulf of Mexico and the Atlantic, Florida's basically a sitting duck for these massive storms. They've got hurricane parties, for crying out loud. You'll see them boarding up their windows, stocking up on supplies, and maybe even dusting off their hurricane hole recipes. It's like a weird annual ritual that everyone just goes with the flow on. And you know what? You got to respect it. You know those 4 seasons they talk about up north? Yeah, Florida decided to skip that whole thing. Down here, it's pretty much summer all year round. Sure, they've got what they call a wet season and a dry season, but let's be real, the only difference is how much you sweat when you step outside. And South Florida? Forget about it. That's basically a tropical paradise where winter means it's a balmy 75 degrees and you can still hit the beach without freezing your butt off. So, if you're the kind of person who loves wearing shorts year-round and never wants to see snow again, Florida might just be your personal paradise. You know those breathtaking mountain ranges you see in other states? The ones that make you want to grab your hiking boots and explore the great outdoors? Yeah, Florida skipped that memo too. We're talking flat, flat, flat. Like you could drive for hours. And the most elevation change you'd experience is a speed bump. The highest point in the entire state, Britton Hill. And get this, it's a whopping 345 feet above sea level. Even the tallest buildings in Miami make that look like an anthill. But hey, at least you don't have to worry about altitude sickness, right? Now, most of the US was all about those British vibes when it came to colonization, right? But Florida decided to spice things up with a little Spanish flair. We're talking about St. Augustine, folks. The oldest continuously inhabited European settlement in the entire US. This place dates back to 1565, which is like ancient history in American terms. And that Spanish influence, it's still alive and kicking today. From the architecture to the food to the overall vibe, you can feel that Latin rhythm pulsing through the state. It's a unique blend that sets Florida apart from the rest of the country. Florida's like a giant welcome mat for anyone looking to escape the cold, the boredom, or maybe just their in-laws. Seriously, this state's got more transplants than a botanical garden. You've got folks from New York, Ohio, Michigan, you name it. They're all flocking to the Sunshine State like moths to a flame. It's a melting pot of cultures, accents and personalities all thrown together under the Florida sun. And that's what makes it so vibrant and interesting. Hold on to your hats, folks, because Florida's about to take you on a whirlwind tour of cultures and communities. We're talking about one of the most diverse states in the entire US. You've got Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Haitians, and a whole bunch of other Latin American and Caribbean communities making Florida their home. And nowhere is this more evident than in Miami. You walk down the street, and you're just as likely to hear Spanish as you are English. From the food, to the music, to the art, Florida's cultural tapestry is rich, vibrant, and constantly evolving. It's like stepping into a different world, and it's one of the things that makes Florida so unique. Most states are lucky to have one coastline. Florida's got two, and as if that wasn't enough, they threw in the Florida Keys for good measure. We're talking about a chain of tropical islands stretching for 120 miles, connected by the most scenic road trip you'll ever take, the Overseas Highway. Imagine turquoise water, swaying palm trees and that salty ocean breeze. It's like stepping into a postcard, only it's real life. You can hop from island to island, each with its own unique personality, from the party vibes of Key West to the laid-back charm of Isla Mirada. All right, let's be real. When it comes to theme parks, Florida wrote the book, we're talking Disney World, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, Busch Gardens. The list goes on and on. Orlando's practically synonymous with theme parks, and for good reason. It's the theme park capital of the world, drawing in millions of tourists every year who are ready to wait in line for hours just to ride Space Mountain. But hey, that's part of the experience, right? Miami's not just a city, it's a vibe. It's like New York City, Latin America, and Hollywood all rolled into one. You've got the glitz, the glamour, the beaches, the nightlife. It's all there, baby. You can start your day sipping Cuban coffee in Little Havana, rubbing elbows with locals and soaking up the culture. Then you can hit the beach for some sun and sand, because it wouldn't be Miami without a little vitamin C. As the sun sets, get ready to experience Miami's legendary nightlife. Now, you might think high-speed rail is something you only find in Europe or Asia, right? Well, Florida decided to bring a little bit of that futuristic transportation to the US. That's right, folks. We're talking about the Brightline train. This thing's a game changer, connecting Miami to Orlando in just a couple of hours. No more traffic jams, no more airport hassles. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Is it any surprise that Florida's practically synonymous with retirement? I mean, the place is practically designed for it. You've got the warm weather, the low taxes, and enough activities to keep you busier than you were when you were working. And then there's the villages. This place is like a retirement utopia, a city designed specifically for folks who are ready to trade in their briefcases for golf clubs. It's like living in a permanent vacation. All right, we've saved the best for last. Let's talk about the legend, the myth, the enigma that is Florida Man. No state in the Union has produced more bizarre, head-scratching, you can't make this stuff up news stories than Florida. We're talking about people wrestling alligators, riding horses into Walmart and trying to pay for McDonald's with bags of weed. Love it or hate it, you've got to admit, Florida Man keeps things interesting. And for our final fun fact, did you know that Gatorade was invented in Florida? That's right, the University of Florida's football team needed a way to stay hydrated in the intense heat, so scientists developed the drink to keep players energized. Now, Gatorade is a staple for athletes around the world. So, do you think Florida is just another US state, or is it in a league of its own? Let me know in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more wild and fun travel content.